Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speedrunners and Coffee. Today, my guest has been running since 2018, running Cult of the Lamb, VVV, or as I like to call it, 555, A Hat in Time, Satan Loves Cake, Boyfriend Dungeon, just to name a few. It's Aalaizah. How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty great, and I knew you were going to make that 555 joke, and I still was like, nope, this isn't going to happen today. But here we are.
Yes, I remember when I made that joke first, you both were dying.
Yeah. Crime and I were both like, I'm sorry, what?
It's because V is the Roman root numeral for 5. That's the joke.
I know, but I'm torn, because I kind of love it, but I also kind of hate it, because I didn't come up with it.
I'm sorry. It is what it is. I was just like, this makes perfect sense, and I was allowed to make a joke, so I did.
Yup.
So, what made you start with the game you started with?
So I started with Overcooked 2 not long after it came out. It's not a great speed game, honestly. The randomizer is way more fun in my opinion, but so I wanted to co-op run with my sister, and we had thought about running Overcooked and just never got around to it. And then Overcooked 2 came out and we were like, oh, this game's better than Overcooked 1 anyways. And we sat down and did some dumb math and found some weird places that you can dash over empty gaps in the world map and did a run.
All right. Now, is there a category for the randomizer, or is that just not a thing? Because I know that some randomizers do.
I don't think there's a category on the boards for the randomizer. It's pretty new, but you can randomize so much stuff. Like you start out the game and you move at like a quarter of your normal speed and then you can't throw anything. And there's a bunch of other stuff that you just can't do that you normally would. And those are all items that you get by completing levels. So the name of the game is really just get as many items as you can to hopefully have like throw and dash and like an extra plate.
Okay.
By the time you get to the end. It's shenanigans, and I love it.
Now, if the randomizer was board legal, is that something that would make you go back to the game for like running purposes?
Oh, definitely.
Nice. Did you have an initial goal with the run as well?
Not really, just kind of do a speed run. My sister and I had been watching speedruns for a while together, and so we were just like, this would be fun. Let's do the thing. So our first run was kind of hot garbage, and then we like sat down and actually thought about the run and ways that we could make it faster. So the first run was really just get to the end of the game.
That's fair. Have you ran other games with your sister as well, or was that the only one?
We have done quite a few games together. See, I'm gonna just browse through my SRC because I know looks like A Hat in Time, WarioWare Get It Together, Cat Quest, Death Squared. Those are all the ones that we've done co-op. We've also done races of a lot of games randomly. Because we at one point tried to do what I called the ABCs of speedrunning, where we ran a game from every letter of the alphabet. We only got like 6 games in before we like didn't have time anymore, but
that's unfortunate, but it's kind of cool that you and your sister you found more games to run. It wasn't like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Very nice. Is there a game you regret running or a game that you wish you continued to learn?
So I can't think of one that I regret running because it's always fun to just learn a run for me. Like the learning process is more fun for me than the speedrunning process. But I do wish I had kept going on Boyfriends or Musashi. It's a really cool run. It's a really niche game that most people don't know exists. So that's always fun. Like when people pop in and they're like, oh my God, somebody plays this game. But it's the longest run out of any of the games I've done, and I just don't have the time for it. So it sits in my maybe I'll come back someday list.
And this also kind of leads into the next question as well. How do you decide on a game to run?
So there's kind of two ways. The main way that I decide is, did I have fun playing this game casually? And then if I had fun playing it casually, I kind of like secondarily ask, do I think the speedrun would be fun? Because there's some games that I loved playing casually that just don't seem like they'd be good speedruns. And then also the other way would be through the ABC's challenge. We went and just like picked runs that started with each letter that was like an hour or less, I think was the time that we picked. So kind of random luck of the draw scrolling through game names.
Is that how you came across VVV? Okay, now I'm making this joke because obviously it starts with the letter V, but is that how you came across VVVVV, or was that specifically because of crime?
That was specifically because of crime. I had that game in my Steam library, honestly, I think since the year it came out, and never played it. And then I was sitting in a hotel room at Frost Fatales this year watching Crimes run, and I was like, man, this looks like so much fun. So I just started playing it, and then I can't stop playing it.
That seems to be the case with crime too, because it's just like, it's addicting, and I think it's because it's a short run kind of helps with it too. I feel like if it was a longer run, that may not be the case.
Yeah, but I definitely think like it's got, I don't know what it is, but it's got that like addictive quality. I think it is because it's a shorter run, especially because like we both do glitchless. So it's not really about learning glitches. It's about just like really learning the game and getting better at the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, even glitchless, it's a very short category. Like I think crime's down to like 15 minutes and you're at like under like 23, almost under 22, and it's just like, you know, you can put in the time if it's that short, like even under 25 minutes. It's like, okay, I could probably do like 8 runs of this in a day very easily. So
yeah, it's one of those things where like I can do a run on my lunch break and not feel bad about it because I still have time to eat lunch. So
there you go. Is there a game you are looking forward to running?
So I've been thinking about this question, and there's not really a game that I can specifically think of other than Lil Gator Game. Like I'm really excited. I love the game of the month that Frame Fatales does, just because it's a bunch of us learning something together and learning a new thing. Which, like I said, that's kind of one of my favorite parts of the speedrunning process. So I'm looking forward to having some time to sit down and learn Lil Gator Game.
I remember when that game came out and I was watching Frozen Flygon play it and I was like, oh, this has Zelda tricks. Ooh, interesting. Because you can like shield slide and all that stuff.
Yeah, the shield slide mechanic is so fun.
Yeah, and then it did just get picked for the Frame Fatales Game of the Month, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be interesting. That'll get the game some traffic and things like that. Because after Flygon stopped playing it, I didn't hear anything on the game, didn't see it again, and now there's the learning process has begun again, and you're seeing all these people run it, and it's like, this is cool. I think it was at SGDQ though.
I believe it was also at SGDQ.
It's just that for my, I guess, circle or vision or whatever you want to call it, I just wasn't seeing anything on the game, so I was like, oh, that's sad. I'm not seeing this game anymore. But now everybody's kind of running it, and it's like, aha, it is being seen again, despite the fact that, of course, it was just at SGDQ. I clearly don't follow enough speedrunners, lols.
I was gonna say, I honestly I had heard about it once or twice through people talking about it in the Fatale server, but like I never really looked into the game, so I'm really glad it got picked because I always try to make sure to devote some time to at least playing the game casually, even if I don't speedrun it when we do Game of the Month. So like playing it casually was so much fun. It's such a just like cute, silly, fun movement game.
Mm-hmm. Are there any games that you are currently playing, speedrun or casual wise?
The big one that I'm playing casually is Persona 5.
Nice.
And
I love that game. Are you playing
so it's
OG
my first time.
or are you playing
I'm playing Royal.
Okay.
Yeah. So I somehow have managed to not get spoiled for this game that's been out for like 6 years or however long it's been. So I'm going in like not knowing anything and still really enjoying it because it's a Persona game. So
Are you excited for 3 remake?
Not so much, because I wish they had done Fest, but I will probably pick it up because I know Atlas, and they are more likely to give us more love if we spend money. So
Yeah. It was really weird how they hid the fact that it was coming out on everything for like 2 days, because for like
yeah,
two days all we would see is coming to Xbox, and it's like, okay. And I kind of went like, okay, so they're trying to pull a Sony, so if you want to play Final Fantasy you have to get a PS5, and if you want to play Persona you have to get an Xbox.
yeah,
And then it was like, nah, it's coming out on everything. And I was like, oh, then why hide? Because usually developers don't do that. Once the presentation's over, the dev will go, or the dev or publisher will go, yeah, this is coming to everything. But for whatever reason, they hid it for like 2 days. And it was like, why?
it's Atlas being Atlas. I don't have a better answer.
Fair enough. So other than Persona 5 Royal, anything else?
Not really. I just beat Lil Gator Game. I'm trying to think. I tried to go back to Breath of the Wild when Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I just kept getting frustrated. Like, I just want to beat the game, and I keep dying to stupid stuff, so I'm bouncing back off of that again. So I think Persona 5 is the big thing that I'm really focusing on right now.
Okay. A wise choice. I love that game. Too bad the speed run's like 16 hours long.
Yeah.
And they don't allow New Game Plus unless you're doing 5 original, and I think it's because nobody runs it. And for whatever reason, like, that game's rule set is so strict because it's like, you have to play it on the hardest difficulty. Why?
Why? What? Just have different boards.
Yeah.
Just have different boards for different difficulties.
Like, even if you even if you want to go like, well, nobody's running it, and I'm like, perhaps maybe that's why nobody's running it, because you have the strictest of rules,
Right?
because it's like, not only do you have to play it on the hardest difficulty, but you have to get the true ending, and it's like, why can't we do the other ones?
Yeah, like games that limit the so I get not adding a new thing to the board until like a couple of people have shown interest, but also like don't just be like, this is the rules. Like, let people have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. Even New Game Plus is still like 12 hours or something like that. So it is quite the time commitment, unfortunately. But it's just like, I don't know. It seems like a lot of work when you could have made it shorter. But again, all the Persona runs seem to be really long.
Yup.
Whatever reason, when they don't have to be.
Because JRPG, question mark.
I guess JRPG question mark. Going back to an earlier thing that you had said, like games that are casual that you think wouldn't make good speedruns. Is there a game that you love but would never run?
That's a good question. I mean, so I don't think I would ever run Overcooked again. What other games do I love that I wouldn't run? Honestly, a lot of JRPGs, like Persona 4 Golden is definitely up there. I can't with those long runs. It's just, I can't sit still for that long.
That is very fair, because I think P4G is 8 hours?
Something like that. Like, yeah, I can't. Like I said, I've got my 2.5 hour long kind of sort of JRPG that I can't even sit down and run. So let's see how long Persona 4 Golden is.
Let's see how long that run is. I'm gonna make this a segment now. Let's see how long this run is.
Yeah, so the world record for hard golden ending is 8 hours, 43 minutes, and 25 seconds.
Yeah, that's a long run.
Yeah, that's a long. Any percent is 5 hours, 17 minutes, and 32 seconds. So yeah, like that's just silly. I can't.
Yeah. See, how come they get an easy any percent, but 5 doesn't? What's going on, Persona board?
The Persona 4 mods said they could. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's kind of like with the dancing games. 3 and 4 are on SRC, but 5 is not. I don't know why.
Wait, they released a 5 dancing game?
Yep, and a 3.
Oh
they released 5 and 3 at the same time.
Oh my god, how did I not know this? Okay.
And it comes in there's a physical copy that you can get, and it comes in a book. and it comes with a code for 4. And I just learned recently that all 3 of them are also on the Vita. I didn't know that 3 and 5 came out on the Vita, but they did.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the console I'm getting those on because I've got 4 on the Vita and I love it. I love Persona music so much. That
Yeah.
like my wife and I have been talking about this since I'm playing it so heavily right now. Like the Persona games have so much depth to them that it really sucks that they like leave out all LGBT stuff. Like just let us be queer in your video game, please.
We almost got close at 5, but not close enough.
Not close enough.
But yeah, Persona, the PS4 versions have VR support.
Oh no.
Oh yes. There is VR support, but as I learned recently, apparently you cannot use PSVR 2 for PSVR 1 games. So you would need PSVR 1 headset to play PSVR 1 games, such as the Persona dancing games or Resident Evil 7.
So silly. What?
It is silly. It makes no sense.
Sony, please.
It's bizarre. So, given that this show is called Speedrunners and Coffee, what is your favorite coffee?
So, this one I had to think about because normally I go to coffee shops for not coffee. But I did remember Dutch Bros has something called the White Zombie Latte. And it is a white chocolate vanilla flavored latte. And that's probably my favorite way to consume coffee.
Okay, I need to know more about the name though. Why is this called a white zombie? What makes this thing zombified exactly?
I don't know. They don't explain anything other than the flavor profile. Like
interesting. Is it secretly a horror themed coffee shop?
No, Dutch Bros is like just chill, like weird, not quite Starbucks, but still a pretty big chain. So
okay, this is the first time I've heard of this coffee chain. I guess they're not in Canada, but even here, where somehow we have a Church's Fried Chicken and a Toronto has like Jollibee, Church's Fried Chicken, like all these international chains and stuff. But this is the first time I've heard of this coffee shop. There are also more Starbucks in Toronto than there are Tim Hortons. Don't go to Tim Hortons, everybody. We went on this rant multiple times. Don't do it. Save yourself the pain.
I used to only go because they had like these bagel twists that had like icing on them that were really delicious, but then they got rid of those, so I stopped going. Yeah, so looking at the map, it does not look like there are any Dutch Bros in Canada, which is a shame.
That is horrible. I curses. Although it kind of makes sense because there's no Dunkin' Donuts in Canada either. There used to be, but I think there's like 3 in the entire country now. And it's like, oh, well, this is fucking unfortunate.
Yeah, so I could see Dutch Bros expanding that way at some point. But like looking at the map, anywhere that I know there's a Tim Hortons in the US, there's also not a Dutch Bros. So
interesting.
I'm gonna bet they're scared of the Timmy Hoes.
Their coffee is trash, as we learned in episode 9 with Metroid Crime. McDonald's stole their coffee beans and refuses to let them have their coffee beans back.
Amazing. Perfect.
Because, like, Tim Hortons was all anyone would fucking talk about in this country. And then when McDonald's started having coffee, which was around 2008, 2009, it was like, oh, Tim Hortons has been shit for years. And I didn't start drinking coffee until like 2 years ago in any shape or form. Well, that's not true because I used to have Tim Hortons ice caps. And then it was like, yeah, this is fucking weird. And like, I don't know what it is. I go to Starbucks if I want like a coffee. Although I've been having a strawberry matcha that they put oat milk in and also like real strawberries and stuff. It's very delicious. But that's not coffee, that's so a tea.
Good. Yeah, that's exactly like 9 times out of 10 when I go to a coffee place, I'm actually going for their tea. So like I rate most coffee joints on their chai.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them all use the same chai concentrate, so most of them are not good chais, but I drink it anyways because I want my stupid spiced tea.
That's fair. If I want teas, there's a shop in Canada that's called David's Tea. They have like hundreds of different teas, whether it's blueberry matcha, vanilla matcha, peach matcha, just to name a few of the matchas, or like cotton candy tea, herbal, like tons of teas. Like one of them's called Just Beat It, and because it has beets in it, get it? Just beat it. Haha.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. So when I go to get teas, I go there. Also, fun hack for any Canadians listening: if you buy their tins and you bring them back to get them refilled, and I don't even think you have to get them filled with the same tea you originally bought, they will give you a discount of at least $1 off your tea.
That's really cool.
So buy the tins, because they, especially if you're getting matcha teas, because they put them in these little, I wouldn't want to, I guess, plastic little container things, and they're kind of awful for that. They're even awful for the loose teas, and it's just like, but a tin works great.
I didn't realize they had physical shops. I've gotten an advent calendar from them before.
Oh, nice.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they do have actual shops, but I think it's only in Canada that we have them.
Such a shame.
Because I've got one like literally a 9-minute walk from me, and like they're even in some of the airports.
Amazing.
Like, yeah, it's kind of amazing. But yeah, you have to spend a lot to get free shipping, and I was like, oh, this is kind of gross. How I got my spooky ghost mug. Because they sell Nordic mugs that like do the change color thing when they're warm, and it's got little ghosts on it.
That's amazing.
And then it's pretty great. I realized that we went on a tea tangent, but I felt like it was a good direction to go.
Sometimes it'd be like that. Tea's delicious.
Yes, it is, and can also give you suitable caffeine. Getting back to the video games, if you could create a game from an entirely different genre and add it to your favorite series, what genre of game would you add?
So, I don't know what to call the genre. I'm sure there's a name for it, but like difficult platformers, like things like V and Katana Zero, like Celeste, where you have like a level that's super hard, but you also don't get sent back like super far if you mess up.
Okay.
Probably like that type of a genre in the Persona series.
Okay, interesting. A Persona platformer. Maybe it could happen one day, considering they've been branching out a ton with 5, because 5's got a Muso style game. It's got
I forgot about that.
Yeah. There's also and they've now got a tactical RPG coming out. They've made a dancing game with it. So there's tons. So maybe they might expand.
I was gonna say, I don't know if they did it with 5, but with 4 they had the fighting game. So
yes, 4 had the fighting game. They didn't do it with 5. People thought maybe 5 was gonna get one. People were kind of surprised that 4 came out with 2.0, because the one that just came out on Steam / PS4 and Switch, I think it was last year, is the 2.0 version of the arcade, which never saw a release in the West. So that was a thing. And even the DLC for the Xbox 360 / PS5 version or PS3 version was not 2.0. It was like missing something, and I forget what it was that didn't make it 2.0. And of course they added rollback netcode, and everyone was like so hyped for that, and it was like, yeah. But yeah, that was a thing. I don't know why they didn't do Persona 5 Arena. I'm just gonna call it Arena because Persona 4 Arena is what the fighting game is. Simply because 5 seems to be abnormally popular for a Persona game. Like, 5 is so hugely popular compared to 4, 3, 2, and 1. I don't know if we're ever gonna see Persona 1 or 2. 2 is a really hard sell. And everybody who knows Persona 2 knows why it's a really hard sell. And it's just like, because even the PSP remakes, it was like, you did not do a good job of hiding who that is. You barely did anything. It's also always so baffling that it's like, oh yeah, play Persona 2. And it's like, sure, go ahead. Just be prepared for who the main villain is. Because, that's a trip. No spoilers here. but but yeah, so you would make a Persona 5 or a Persona platformer.
Yeah.
Would you? Oh, and what genre
I
is
just
Persona
remembered.
Q? I forget what
Yep,
genre.
I just remembered that game exists. It's the Etrian Odyssey genre. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know what kind of
Let's see if we can find a genre of some sort for it. Role
because
playing dungeon crawler.
okay,
But
so
you could
like,
describe all Persona games as role playing dungeon crawlers.
well, I mean, I think a dungeon crawler is like classified as like top down, like Diablo style view. I think that's what is classified as a dungeon crawler. I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an
Yeah, I got
expert,
no clue.
but that's my go-to for when people say dungeon crawlers. I immediately go, "Oh, Diablo," or like a fucking can't think of the game right now. Damn it. Is there a skip you wish was in a game you run?
So, is this like a skip that exists but is Taz only, or like
This is a skip that doesn't exist, or a skip
okay?
you just want.
So, in Brave Fencer Musashi, one of the longest sections of the game is the underground restaurant, and we have all tried so hard to find ways to skip it because it's long and there's like lots of time loss opportunities in it. So, yeah, being able to skip that entire section would be amazing.
Okay, and how much time do you think that would save?
That's a good question. On my run, I think it would save at least 30 minutes.
Okay, so that's kind of a significant time save.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be not quite as significant for like the top runners of the game, but also it would still be significant enough that they would incorporate it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, speedrun wise?
I mean, hopefully speedrunning more games, hopefully helping other people to learn speedrunning more games.
Okay. Now, I'm going to throw this question that's not even there because I've been finding it very interesting hearing this question a lot lately. Are you controller or keyboard and mouse?
I am mostly a controller player. I will keyboard and mouse if it makes like one specific thing easier. Like in A Hat in Time, there's one level that is like you delivering mail, and it's so much easier to aim with the mouse and keyboard than it is with the controller. But other than that, I'm all controller. It's so much more comfortable.
Okay, that's fair. Because I just know a lot of speedrunners that do keyboard and mouse, but I'm also starting to see more of my fellow controller allies out there, and so I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
What is
So
people's preferred method?
I definitely think for me, it's because growing up, I had game consoles, not a gaming PC. So, like, I didn't start PC gaming until college. And
Mm-hmm.
by that time, you could already use a decent controller for PC gaming. And since I was used to controller, I just kept doing it. So,
That's fair. See, the funny thing, I'm going off on these tangents, but the funny thing is, back in the day when PC gaming kind of still sucked, the one thing that was keeping people that I knew away from PC gaming was that they couldn't use a controller, or that PC controllers just sucked, so they would stay away from it. The only exceptions for PC gaming were like Blizzard games.
yeah.
Those would be the only things that kept those are the only exceptions for playing on PC were Blizzard games. Everything else, it was like nah. We're going console for this one because screw using a keyboard and mouse for these things. But ever since I want to say 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm keyboard and mousing this up," and I'm like, "How? What?" Like my brain does
Why?
not compute.
Yeah. I don't get it either. But to each their own, you know. Keyboard and
Mhm.
mouse players can keyboard and mouse if they want. I will not tell you otherwise.
What is your opinion on IGT versus RTA?
So I definitely prefer IGT. It's more forgiving of different hardware,
Mm-hmm.
but also that requires the developers to care about speedrunners. So it's not as prevalent as I would wish it was. So it's that's where I'm at. RTA has its place because not every game developer thinks about speedrunners.
Yeah. And then you have
But
Naughty Dog with The Last of Us Part 1 being like, here's a speedrunner mode. And then it's like, what?
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because like when we were talking about it with Lil Gator Game in the Game of the Month channel, like you can run Lil Gator Game on Switch because it's in-game timer. So the fact that the Switch has like 20 seconds extra on every load doesn't matter.
Nice.
You don't have to have the fastest of the fastest PC to run the game, which is great.
And then there's Metroid Dread, which has a broken timer. And I remember when that game came out, everyone was like, wait, it's slower to run on the cart. And I think they ended up developing something to make it to where they eliminate that, but not every Switch game does that. I think it has to be like the big of the big ones that do it. Because for those that don't know, when it comes to Switch games, you want it installed on the internal hard drive, which means if you don't have a Switch, the OLED has a purpose outside of nice screen handheld mode. It has a bigger internal storage. And then you would do SD card and then physical card, unless you're playing Totk, because apparently version 1.00 is the fastest thing because they patched all the glitches out or something, is what I've heard. And I was like,
that's rude. That sounds like Nintendo, but it's rude.
I mean, to be fair, Capcom patched out all the, like, most of the RE4 remake glitches. Granted, I think that's because when you have IGN and all these websites being like, here's how to do, like, they basically wrote, like, here's how to do, like, every glitch in the game because they were very easy to find. They don't break the game. They're just things that you can do in the game. So I don't know why they patched it, but they did. And it's just like, oh, sadness. Do you have any event rituals?
Not really. I mean, most of my event rituals are kind of the same things that I try to do before I sit down to a speed run. Just make sure that I've got water close by and make sure I've gone to the bathroom. Sometimes if I'm like feeling really nervous, I will listen to whatever my favorite genre of music happens to be at that time.
Okay.
So like at one point I always listened to Disney music right before because Disney music exists.
Disney music is good choice.
Yeah.
What advice would you have given to your past self with your first speed run, knowing what you do now?
Play a different game.
Okay, I could have seen that.
But if it is within that game still, have fun with it. Don't like try to micromanage every little thing to like efficiency the heck out of the game. It makes that game less fun.
Yeah, that is completely fair. How do you learn a speed run? A new one. Do you take notes or practice beforehand, or are you diving right in and doing full runs?
So it kind of depends a little bit. If it's a shorter run and a glitchless category, I just kind of dive in at first. And then once I feel comfortable in the run, I go and like learn more about like different pathways and stuff like that I can take. If it's a glitched category or a longer category, I sit down and I take so many notes. I have a little notebook that's one of the like circle ones that you can add and remove paper from. And I take my notes on by hand and keep that next to my desk whenever I'm running. So
how do you not burn yourself out of speed runs?
So I kind of tend to burn myself out of speed running most games because I have ADHD, so I kind of hyperfixate on them. So I try to jump around a lot because that helps with it. It just lets me like, today I'm feeling like I want to run Cat Quest, or today I'm feeling like I want to run V, instead of being like, okay, this week I am getting this time in V. Like, I have goals for multiple different speedruns at once.
Okay, that's very fair. What would you say your proudest moments as a runner are?
Man, that's a good question. Definitely, I think getting Cat Quest into Fatales the first time, one of my proudest moments. That was the first time I got a solo game into Fatales. Also, like, having people reach out to me to be on things like podcasts and like hotfix for GDQ and stuff like that kind of makes me really proud. Like, I'm getting more known to a circle of speedrunners. So I'm kind of like making more friends and connections.
And to contrast that question, what are some of your lowest moments?
Honestly, dealing with communities that are less than pleasant. It's kind of the big thing. Like whenever you're in a community and one of the like top runners isn't a fun person to be around, it's really hard to keep like caring about the game. Honestly, I mean, the other thing would just be whenever I have not paid attention and burned myself out and I'm just trying to run things for the sake of it. It's like it's not fun, so why am I still doing it?
Makes sense. You don't want to do things that are. You don't want to not have fun
Yeah, like
speedrunning.
it's my free time that I'm using for it. So like it should be something fun unless it's sleep or chores.
Do you have any influences in the speedrun world?
I mean, definitely would say all of Fatales. Like everybody there has been so welcoming even when I'm not speedrunning. Like I can still hang out there and they don't care that I'm not currently running anything or like there's people in there that have never run games but love watching Fatales, so they're still in the community. So that's definitely been a big influence for me to try and kind of help keep the community growing and happy. And honestly, just like seeing people get better is a big influence for me. Like right now, I'm kind of in a little bit of a rivalry with NBZ for VVV. So that definitely like I've been spending a lot more time in V than I probably would if I didn't have that rivalry.
So what you're saying is in 2024 we're going to see Metroid Crime versus Indie Villain versus Aalaizah versus Inbeezy.
That would be amazing. That would be such a fun race, honestly.
I agree.
Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see if NBZ and I can get there.
I believe that it can happen. Might have to
Right.
you guys might have to do a circuit for a while, and then eventually it's going to be like, okay, now here's the big circuit. It's the four of us going to every event and doing all the things.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, haha, yes. And of course, one final question. If people want to find you, where can they?
That's probably Instagram at Aalaizah is the easiest place. Aalaizah. I do stream on Twitch occasionally as well, and I have a Twitter, but I don't actively use it anymore. So Instagram is probably the easiest place to catch me actually interacting.
Okay, interesting choice. Instagram. That's one that people. I think you're the first guest to mention Instagram.
Yeah, so I started using it for miniature painting, which is another one of my hobbies. And when I moved away from Twitter, Instagram just seemed like the place I was using the most already. So
Okay. And when you say miniatures, as I go off on are we talking Warhammer miniatures, or are we talking something else completely different, or is there like a mix of like some Warhammer stuff?
Yeah, there's definitely still some Warhammer stuff in it. That's where I started learning to paint miniatures, but I've kind of moved away from them and moved more into busts because busts are slightly larger and just have more like interesting designs that aren't so overly detailed.
That's fair. Do you do any like custom gunpla or anything like that?
I have not done any gunpla yet.
I've seen some of the hardcore stuff where people are like spending like hundreds of dollars just on the paint for those.
Oh yeah, my paint collection is extensive.
Nice.
But
Are you doing any airbrushing, or is it all hand painted?
It's mostly hand painted. I've started learning an airbrush, but it's definitely like very early on. Like I mostly use it for like a single color and then have to go in and do a ton of cleanup.
Okay. Well, there you go. You get to see some miniature painting as well. Not only speedrunning, but miniature painting. Sounds like a good combination of content. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It was great to learn about your speedrun history, and of course, welcome to season 2, everybody. Yeah, that's right. It's now season 2 time. We will see you guys next Saturday. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.